I can't tell you that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what his agenda is or when he's coming or not coming. But we're rolling right now. I haven't put much thought into that part, Adam. And listen, you're never sure how it's going to work out. I mean, you're dealing with too many people and on this type of thing. So these things can go either direction. And I don't spend a lot of time on it. I've got 90 guys or had 90 guys in the off season that we need to make sure we're going in the right direction. So, and then now we're getting ready to play a game. So you're either here or not here, and that's how I go about it.
That's Andy Reid, head coach of the Chiefs, from Sunday, and that's all you can do. It's no different than a guy being injured. You're either here or you're not here. The question initially came up from the perspective of, if he shows up this week, can he play Thursday night? And Reid didn't slam the door on the possibility of Jones playing if they can get a deal done between now and Thursday. I doubt Jones is just going to cave and show up. It only happens if a deal gets done. And then the second part of that clip was in reference to whether or not he envisioned it getting to this point in the offseason. And I think, just like with the 49ers, Chris, the root problem here is the team underestimated the resolve of the player. The team didn't realize he was willing to dig in and hold that position and not cave in, take whatever the best offer is, happily report and be there with his team. It's a lot of pressure on the player to be there with the team as they celebrate their championship and try to pursue another one, first team in 20 years to potentially go back-to-back. They need him there. That's a strong magnet, and I think the Chiefs didn't realize he was going to resist it as strongly as he has.
No, I don't think so either. I think you're probably right, where they probably thought they had a ballpark number that, okay, we get into this general vicinity, he'll take it and we'll make it all work. But Chris Jones he's playing a little bit of hardball. And again, I saw what you wrote a little bit this weekend. Yeah, I mean, just from a base value of, if I'm Chris Jones or a guy like me and you, we follow football and we the ins and outs and we know a lot of people and all that. Like, of course he wants more money than Quinnen Williams. Like, Quinnen Williams was the out of the new guys that averages the most, right? $24 million a year. Well, it's gotta be somewhere between Aaron Donald and Quinnen Williams, and he deserves more than Quinnen Williams. Right? I mean, just kind of what we just talked about a second ago. One, he's been better to this point. Two, he's a staple of your franchise. It's like the three amigos are Mahomes, Kelsey, and Chris Jones of this little mini dynasty run we got with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think he's at a point of his career here, too, where, yeah, it's not over. I'm not saying he's got 5 years of being dominant left, but he's got 2 or 3 for sure. Right? And that's where I look at it and go, yeah, Kansas City, it seems like it's on their end here to kind of up the ante a little bit and show him the respect he deserves here as far as the contract status that's important in the NFL.
We've seen this coming from really the moment Daron Payne did his deal with the Commanders, because you got a cluster of guys, Payne, Jeffrey Simmons,
Dexter Lawrence,
Quinnen Williams, Dexter Lawrence. They're all in that same range. And Quinnen Williams, his number was pumped up a little bit by some of the Fugazi tricks they do, a little bit, but not much. It's all in the range of 22.5 to 23.5. So you have all those guys there, and then you've got Aaron Donald at $31.67 million. Huge gap. So how does Chris Jones, and really how do the Kansas City Chiefs work together with Jones to bridge that gap? Where does Jones want to be? And there's a belief out there, and I think somebody wrote this last week, that Jones is trying to beat Aaron Donald's 31.67, that Jones wants more than that. So, and this came up on Saturday. The weekend's kind of slow and people are doing other things. Some people are at college football games calling them, with Mike Tirico, but the rest of us were working for a living. And I don't know how many people even saw this when we reported it. We've circled back to it a couple of times. It's as simple as this. And this is one of those where we need to focus on simplicity to truly understand what's going on. The Chiefs, I'm told, have offered Chris Jones 3 years, $74 million. Not attached to his current deal. Rip up the last year at 19.5.
Right.
Replace it with 3 years, $74 million. $70 million in guarantees, but not $70 million fully guaranteed. Guarantees mean some fully guaranteed, some injury guarantee, but $74 million, $70 million in guarantees. That's what the Chiefs have offered. Now, that works out to about 20. Let me just do the math to make sure. I don't want to get this wrong. 74 divided by 3, that's 24.66 infinity per year. Aaron Donald's at 31.66 infinity per year. It's a $7 million gap. My understanding is Chris Jones is willing to take the midpoint of Aaron Donald's 31.666 infinity and the Chiefs' offer of 24.666 infinity, which is just about 28. 28 gets it done. 3 years, 28. So 28 times 3, that's $84. $84 million, not $84. So this deal would have been done a long time ago if it was only $84. $84 million is what he wants over 3 years. When you consider that the Rams are paying Aaron Donald $95 over 3, $84 does not seem unreasonable. And anyone that would be trying to characterize Chris Jones as wanting more than Aaron Donald would be incorrect. Donald, 3 years, $95. Jones, 3 years, $84. Chiefs at 3 years, $74. So that's where we are. And that's the gap. And Chris Jones is fairly dug in. I don't know if there's any play in that 28 a year for 3 years, but again, it's not 31.667 and it's not more than that. And when you consider the cap keeps going up, when you consider where Jones is right now, how dominant he's been, especially in key moments. They don't win Super Bowl 54 without him. They don't get to Super Bowl 57 without him. Yes, Patrick Mahomes had something to say about it as well, but it was Jones that freaked out Jimmy Garoppolo when the Chiefs were trying to come back in Super Bowl 54, and it was Jones that stepped up and single-handedly shut down Joe Burrow when it felt like the Bengals were going to drive down the field and win the game in Kansas City to go to Super Bowl 57. He's an indispensable piece of what they've done, and the question is, do they get it done before he starts missing games? And he's already said he's intent on not showing up until week 8, if that's what it takes.
Yeah, I hope it's not that long. I mean, I really don't. I mean, this is, like you talked about. It's a special football player on a special football team. And it's in a position where they're not necessarily all that deep. That's where I do think he has some, bargaining leverage here. And I also, on top of it, listen, I know it's not my money and I don't got to balance the salary cap, so it's a lot easier, sitting here talking about it. But I don't 27, 28 million a year, whatever that number is that bridges the gap there. Like I look at that to be fair. I really do. Like that's what I expected kind of all along. I expected kind of a number in that range. So I don't think Chris Jones is being unreasonable with asking for that, especially over a 2 or 3 year period. Like you said, the monumental moments, right? One of the leaders of the defense, if not the leader of the defense, plays a ton of snaps, right? That's the other thing, too. People sometimes use that against him a little bit, like, oh, he takes a play off here or there. And I want to go, no, he just gauges himself because out of the top D tackles in football, Chris Jones, he plays up there as far as the highest percentage of snaps, I think, out of any other D tackle in football. He's phenomenal. He gives you all he has. So that's where, I'm a little bit here on side Chris Jones on this contract situation for sure. And I don't think what he's asking for by everything you've said and written over this weekend, I don't think it's that crazy and unreasonable. And especially coming off the year he just came off of where it was awesome. And like we said, it was the first year in a long time where a guy not named Aaron Donald was considered the best defensive tackle in football last year, and that was Chris Jones, and that's where they got to reward him here.
If I were Chris Jones, this is the other thing that would irritate me. And look, I understand where Chiefs fans are coming from on this. They just want their players to be in the fold.
That's
right. How all fans react. And that's part of the problem. We talk about millionaires versus billionaires, and the fans line up behind the laundry because the fans just want the players there. And from the fans' perspective, it's all a matter of degree. They're all making a crap load of money. What's an extra million here or an extra million there when they're making that much and they all have more than the rest of us will ever have? I get it. I understand it. It's your nature as a fan to want every player there and to want every player to be happy with whatever he's getting, even if he's truly not happy about it and he thinks the broader business and his value to the team justifies more. So I understand where fans are coming from, and I understand why they're upset with Chris Jones. It's hard to get people to view it from the player's perspective, but if they were the ones in the middle of it, or if it was a family member of theirs or a close friend or something like that, they probably would feel differently. So if I'm Chris Jones, here's something that upsets me, Chris. Last year, after being a pain in the ass for all of the 2021 season, quietly behind the scenes, didn't take it public, but he sure made it public after he got traded.
Right.
Tyreek Hill was a pain in the ass for the Chiefs. I want the ball, I want the ball, I want the ball. He had career-high targets, career-high catches. I want the ball, I want the ball. I think he saw what Cooper Kupp was doing. He resented that. He thought he could have the historic numbers. He could challenge Calvin Johnson. What's he talking about now? 2,000 yards. He thought he could do that with the Chiefs. He was agitating for more. It was disrupting the offense. And then he wants, after the Devontae Adams contract with the Raiders, he wants this big contract. They just say, you know what? Let's just move on. And if I'm Chris Jones, I look at it and I say, well, this guy's being rewarded for being a pain in your ass.
Right.
Like, what have I done to be a pain in your ass?
Right.
I show up, I kick ass, I take names, I help you win championships, and you can't replace me. And he gets traded, and he gets what he wants financially, and I'm stuck all because I've been a good soldier. I'd be pissed about that if I was Chris Jones.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder, like, if the Chiefs had known it was going to come to this, do they trade him before the draft and take Jalen Carter and just roll the dice and start over? It's still a hell of a risk. There's no guarantee Jalen Carter is going to become Chris Jones. But I just wonder if they had really known what this was going to come to. Do they come up with a different plan? It's harder to replace Chris Jones than Tyreek Hill. Sorry, Tyreek, but it's true because Patrick Mahomes is the straw that stirs the drink of the passing game, not Tyreek Hill. On defense, you can't replace Chris Jones. There's nobody else there who steps in and does what he does.
Exactly right. Right. I mean, you're right. I mean, the Tyreek Hill absence, they can find other ways to make it work. Like you said, it's Mahomes. There's still other really good receivers. It's one of the best O-lines in football, like we saw. It's Andy Reid, and it was Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy and coming up with great game plans. So they knew they could figure that out a little bit. There's no, you can't fool anything if you're not big enough in the middle and people are just running the ball up the middle between the tackles. Like there's nothing you can start loading the box and putting a bunch of people in there, but at some point it becomes so compromising to other things you do on defense. So that's where, he's got great value. And then, you bring it up the right way where, would they have done something differently if they knew it was going to be? Maybe, I don't know. Of course, that's kind of speculative, but at the same time, like speculative. That's the better
close
word.
Enough.
There we go. It's close enough.
Close
but
enough.
I knew I didn't say it right. But that they had a problem there. And
Expanding the King's English one word at a time.
No problem. Welcome, Sky. Hello, I'm Chris Simms, and I don't speak English that well. But the other part of it is like, you look at their roster, and we've talked about this a little bit over the last few weeks. Detroit, it's one of the best running teams in football. You look at Kansas City on the defensive side of the ball right now. You go, well, they only got, really two big 300-pound type defensive linemen. They got three. They got Neil Farrell. I forgot who they traded for last week because they're concerned about this.
The Raiders, yes.
Right. So
yes.
that tells you right there. So they're going to have to come up with a different game plan altogether and depend on some guys that are a little bit unproven and not used to their system or whatever to try to win game one. And it's not going to be easy, and it's going to make them change their game plan a little bit and have to probably play a little differently than they'd want to if Chris Jones was there.
When Peter King and I talked about this on Friday as it relates to the Chiefs-Lions game, his response was, well, you know what? You're going to have to outscore Mahomes. with or without Chris Jones, you still have to outscore Mahomes. But you're touching on something that we always talk about. One of the best ways to defend Mahomes is to do what?
Yeah.
Keep him
on the bench.
Sideline,
right,
drinking Gatorade.
Right.
And if you can control the line of scrimmage and just work your way down the field, take the full 40 seconds off the clock, give Patrick Mahomes fewer opportunities, make him a little more antsy, make him a little more willing to try to get the ball down the field instead of working the offense and taking what the defense is giving him, something he learned to do last year without Tyreek Hill. If he's feeling that anxiety and you give him fewer opportunities, maybe you don't need to outscore him. Maybe he's not going to score as many points as you thought because he's not going to have the ball as many times as he otherwise would have, because the Lions have constructed potentially a game plan that takes full advantage of not having Chris Jones there. And they've got Jahmyr Gibbs, that who knows how they're going to use him. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, was talking about that over the weekend. They're going to use him in ways people don't expect. Of course, I don't know that I would say that out loud. I would just go ahead and do it. Maybe, who knows? Who knows? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe Jahmyr Gibbs is so good they can tell the word we're going to use him in creative ways and no one's going to be able to stop him. But the Lions could be able to slow the game down, reduce the opportunities. And it's just like with Nick Bosa. You take him out of the mix. When they've got the Lions, then the Jaguars in Jacksonville. That's not a pencil-in W
Definitely
anymore.
Not.
You got to go to Jacksonville and play a Jaguars team that almost beat you in the divisional round. I know Mahomes was hurt, but still, you don't have Chris Jones for that. They got the Jets looming week 4, Sunday Night Football. A loss here or a loss there?
They got the Bears who run the ball in week 3, and we're one of the, they got some. You're saying it right. They got some challenges in front of them where you'd like them to be at full strength.
If he stays out until week 8 and they lose a couple of games they otherwise would have won, those losses are permanent, and those losses are the thing in this conference, in that division. You don't want to get losses you could have avoided early in the year. Now, I think the general sense is the Chiefs are good enough to win without Chris Jones. And maybe that's true in the regular season.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why the Chiefs are being intransigent about this. Maybe the Chiefs look at it and say, he'll be back when it matters most. We'll dog paddle our way through the first 7 games. He'll be back and he'll be playing and he'll be motivated and he'll be in shape when we need him. Because that's when he shows up the most, when we need him. The question is, can they hold it together long enough while he's gone so they don't lose so many games that they are scrambling down the stretch with a narrow margin for error trying to nail down the 1 seed? That's the key. If you blow the 1 seed, if you got to go on the road for the AFC Championship, they've been in 5 straight AFC Championships, and they've played every one of them in Kansas City. If we have to go on the road for one of those games, that's a new dynamic that we have yet to deal with. Isn't that amazing? 5 for 5 AFC championships with Patrick Mahomes as the starter, and they've hosted every single one of them.
Yeah, no, it's mind-blowing. I mean, it is. I mean, we can sit here for a half hour and rattle off stats the Kansas City Chiefs have done the last few years, and you just go, they're unreal. That's unbelievable. Holy crap. I mean, I can't believe it. Yeah, they're amazing. Where it hurts, is kind of, it's what you're saying. And 2, listen, this was the number 11 defense in football last year, and they were the youngest defense in football, right? That's where, it's set up here for them to get better on that side of the ball and be dominant, right? And to your point, I'm glad you went there because I was going to kind of go there. Like, they'll be okay for a little while. I mean, but against the cream of the crop, it's going to get scary. Now, like Spags and this talk about Thursday and this game, I think we're at a point already here where, hey, they got their game plan in. If Chris Jones shows up or whatever, it's going to be on a pitch count, and we can't expect them to be dominant either way. But like we've seen Spags, he's creative as hell. We know that. I don't, to your point too, I think they're very aware of teams trying to keep Mahomes on the bench. He'll sell out and go, okay, either we're going to stop you or you're going to score. But either way, 15's going to be back on the field again here. I think they are aware of that dynamic to where at some point they just go, we're coming after you. And if you make a big play, fine, but you're getting off the field and we're getting on the field either way here. So they'll have the appropriate game plan. And when it goes to Thursday night too, the other thing I come to, Mike, the more I think about this game and break down this game, I know there's a disadvantage there, obviously, with the Lions being able to run the ball on the Chiefs and all of that. But the other thing I want to say is like a little bit of like what you said. You start to like talk about the Lions. Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm excited. He's going to be awesome. I know that, but he is a rookie. All right, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, but like, who else? And Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't exactly like your 80-yard touchdown guy where you have to be like, oh, we got to put 2 safeties over him. Oh, well, wow, we got to watch for that. No, he's a lot of 10 and 8 and 5 and 10 and 8 and 5. That's what he does. So I do think the matchup allows Kansas City to load the box and take some chances because other than Amon-Ra St. Brown, there's not a lot of people to be really scared of in the pass game from Detroit. So that's where I'm interested in the X's and O's department of this game. It's going to be fun to see kind of how it unfolds.
And I'm sure Thursday we'll get into it in detail.
Yeah.
And they don't have Jamison Williams for the first 6 weeks. Jamison Williams, for the first 6 weeks because of the gambling suspension. Josh Reynolds, Marvin Jones Jr., they're the other starting receivers along with Amon-Ra St. Brown. David Montgomery listed as a starting running back. He's the guy that they picked up from the Bears in the offseason. He and Jahmyr Gibbs, we'll see plenty from him. What can Jared Goff do? There was a pretty epic game between Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes back in 2018, if you recall, when it was 54-51. But that was a long time ago. And this Lions team does, even without Williams on the field, they do have an offense that can work.
Yeah.
The question is, what do you do? Do you strike fast? Do you strike slow? What do you do? I really do think that without Jones, and we'll talk about it more on Thursday, slow it down, keep Mahomes on the sideline. Now, here's a point, and this is a fine point, but it's a way that folks are pushing back against the notion that Donald doesn't want to match, that Chris Jones doesn't want to match or beat Aaron Donald. And this gets to the new money analysis, and I have hated for years the new money analysis. Agents love it. I hate it because it's not real. When someone has years left on their contract and they sign a new contract, it gets characterized as an extension. Folks, there are no extensions in the classic sense. If I've got 1 year left on my contract with the Chiefs and they sign me to a new 5-year contract, it's not, well, you know what, we're going to finish this year and then we start the extension. That's not what happens. The current deal gets ripped up and the new deal starts today. It's a new 5-year deal that replaces the deal that you already had. There are no extensions. It never happens. And it's amazing how many Twitter experts are out there who insist otherwise. There are no extensions. You rip up whatever's left and you replace it with a new deal. But the agents, Chris, they love to look at what the guy was supposed to make and compare it to what he's going to make. They subtract what he was supposed to make from what he's going to make, and whatever's left over gets divided by the number of new years, and it creates a new money average that is always better. It's always higher. It always looks more valuable than the total average of the deal. And I mention all that because what some are doing with what Chris Jones wants, 3 years, $84 million, they're taking it and they're doing a new money analysis. It's a 3-year deal. They're taking the 19.5 that is already due to make, subtracting it from the 84, and the end result is $32.25 million per year in new money. Ha-ha, he wants more than Aaron Donald. Ha-ha, you're a liar. You're a phony. He wants more than Aaron Donald. That's what they're saying. But that overlooks one very important fact. Aaron Donald, 3 years, $95 million. Aaron Donald had 3 years left on his existing contract with the Rams. They ripped up the 3 existing years, ripped it up and threw it away and gave him 3 years, $95. What does Chris Jones want? Rip up 1 year, not 3, not 2, 1 year. Rip it up and give me $84. That, folks, is as apples to apples as it can get. 3 years, $95 for Donald, 3 years, $84 for Jones. And it's borderline offensive that someone would actually take a tool that is used by agents to make players' deals look better than they are and weaponize it to say, aha, look at what you're trying to do. You're trying to pull a fast one here. He really wants 32.25. No, he wants 84 over 3. Donald's got 95 over 3. He wants 84 over 3. That's as apples to apples as it gets.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's, I think you hit on it earlier in the show. It's personal to some people. It's, the fan base, they want it, and people start to go down wormholes where they're not necessarily educated on the topic all the way. And, yeah, there are, certain people there that just, again, like we always talk about, they don't want the players to get paid for some reason. I don't understand it. Or they're always trying to call them out.
They want their players there.
Annoying.
They
Right.
want the players
That's
there.
right.
They want whatever you have is enough. How much is enough? Whatever you have, it's enough. Quit being greedy. We want you here. That's it. That's as simple as it is. We're not siding with the billionaires. You all got more than we got. We just want everybody there. We want to be entertained by the best players. We want the interests of our team to be advanced by the best players. And if there's one of the best players not there, they get pissed at the player for not being there. Not pissed at the team for failing to make him an offer that would cause him to show up. They don't get pissed at the team. They get pissed at the player. And what happens is, and it's almost like our political discourse, where people just look for any shred that supports their view of the world.
That's right.
And they sink their teeth into it, whatever it is. However wrong it might be logically, whatever flaws there may be, they sink their teeth into it because it supports their view that this guy's being greedy, this guy's being selfish, this guy doesn't care about the team, and he should get his ass in here.
Yeah, well, it's wrong. We know that, and we'll continue to educate and support the players for what they deserve. And of course, hey, this is Chris Jones's last chance. Right? And it's not about what he was supposed to make. It's about what he's worth in the currency of the NFL. And he's worth a lot more than the currency he's about to receive. So therefore, he wants to do what's right by him. And this last chance he has to make significant money as an NFL football player, where his career's about to end, and it'll probably end in the mid-30s. And this is the thing he was greatest at in life, and he's got to capitalize on it. And then he's going to live the rest of his life. And again, that's where their people are insensitive. He can't do this when he's 64 and still do it. The time is now, and that's what he's worth. Deal with it, people, and go Chris Jones.
Now, here's where it gets a little delicate in the locker room. Because you've got a guy in Patrick Mahomes who, even though he was highest player on an APY, average per year basis, when he did his current deal, he's currently $7.5 million behind the standard bearer, who for now is Justin Herbert. He's underpaid happily. Travis Kelce underpaid happily, although he did kind of, in a recent article, muse about the fact that every once in a while you wonder, are you being taken advantage of? But hey, we're winning, so everything's fine. Here's both Mahomes and... Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.